Hey guys,
Hi.
how are you? Thank you for coming.
Pleasure.
How are you? All right. So, as I mentioned in my intro, there's a bit of skepticism about people like you. I actually remember, I can kind of relate, because back in 2005, when we were at the kind of beginning of Web 2, I started writing a blog called The Business of Fashion. And people were skeptical of bloggers back then too. And now we talk about influencers or creators. But essentially, there's a long history now of almost 20 years of people discovering and building audiences and communities on the internet using tools like a blog in my case, or like TikTok in your case, to really connect with people all over the world. And so to start with, maybe you could just first tell us a little bit about your personal stories of how you became TikTok creators. Wisdom, why don't we start with you?
Oh, sure. It really happened during college. I was just going to school, and then kind of right when COVID hit, our school sent everybody back home, and we had all this time on our hands. And I just decided to, finally get on the app. I didn't really know much about it, but my friends were like, "Oh, you should make fashion videos because your style, whatever." So I was like, "Okay." And then it kind of all just took off from there.
And what happened? Like, when you say took off, I think, how many followers do you have now?
TikTok maybe like 8 million, I think.
8 million followers, right? Yeah, just happened like that. And tell us more detail. Like, what was it that really created such a following?
To be honest, I think it was like, and I still do this till today as like kind of like a thing I do whenever I think about content. I kind of was taking a lot of the trends that were mainly dance oriented, a lot of the sounds that were being used, and just sort of like, fixing them into fashion in some way, shape, or form. I think like the first ever trend I did was like to this one Megan Thee Stallion song. It was like Savage by Megan Thee Stallion. And like, obviously there's a dance for that people were doing that was really popular at the time, but I just sort of like, turned that into like a fashion thing, and that was like my first ever thing I did that was blowing up. So it was within like 4 to 5 months of just kind of doing that and then coming up with my own creative stuff, and just sort of like just taking things and sort of shifting it and doing it differently, and then it just kind of, people really were into that.
Okay. Nick, you also have your own TikTok Genesis story. Do you want to share it with us?
So it's a similar story. It's in college too, with the pandemic. I just moved to Germany, so I didn't know a lot of people there. I was studying computer science, and then the pandemic hit, and I had nothing to do. I didn't know anyone. I had no way of connecting, and TikTok was like the newest thing at the time, especially with Gen Z. So I was like, I have all of this time on my hands. What do I do? So I downloaded the app, and I started posting videos, and I didn't really take it too seriously at the start. But I really quickly saw a very positive feedback. And since I had so much time on my hands, I just decided to keep going with it. And now I'm sitting here. Somehow I have 18 million followers on TikTok. I'm not really sure how that happened, but I'm very grateful for it, of course. And it all started back there in college.
What was your moment where it kind of flipped?
So at one point, I realized that the views I was making were incredibly high for someone who's a nobody. I was getting the same amount of views that celebrities were getting on like their social media posts, and I was like a college student. And that's when I decided to at least part-time take TikTok very seriously. I started posting regularly 1 to 3 times a day, and just started really committing myself to it. And I immediately saw how positively it affected my account. And as my community was growing, the engagement was great, the feedback was really, really good. I realized that this could be a genuine career opportunity.
Wow, okay. So quick audience question. How many of you in the room have a TikTok account? Okay, pretty significant. How many of you in the room actually create TikToks and don't just lurk on other people's videos? Okay, so very few people in this room are actually creating their own content, but also many people in this room are working in the fashion industry and looking to understand what does it take to be successful on TikTok? And based on your experiences, maybe Nick, I'll let you go first this time. What does it take to get that virality or that engagement that you and Wisdom both seem to have found a way of doing?
So I think everyone in this room is more familiar with Instagram because it's been around for longer. It's been a pretty integral part of the fashion industry. And as with Instagram, there's a large focus on being persistent, regularly posting, being unique and engaging. However, I feel like what defines TikTok is the requirement for authenticity and really showing who you are as a person and providing your own long form of content. Because on Instagram, where you were just posting pictures, it was just looking good in a nice outfit at a nice event. And now it's more about the behind the scenes of it too, why you are there, what has brought you there, what the event is really about. And because of that, you have to remain authentic the entire time. Make sure you're constantly providing like the same type of content that your followers expect, and finding a way to take current trends and still bring them to your followers in an engaging way, but in an authentic way that they are used to.
Yeah. It also seems to me like, because I've been lurking on both of your videos a bit in preparation for this talk, it seems like you get known for something. Wisdom, would you agree with that? Like, there's these different styles or approaches that people seem to have.
There's definitely a lot of different niches and subcategories amongst TikTok where people kind of find themselves as in any part of the internet. You know, you have different subcategories and genres and communities that grow and build. And it is like that on TikTok. I mean, no two people's For You page, I mean, sometimes, but are really ever the same. You know, you scroll and you see different things and you're like, I never saw that. And so, I mean, for me, I didn't really realize it until much later, but I was really one of the first people that was doing men's fashion on there. And I didn't realize until much later that it was really me and maybe two other dudes on there really doing that. And so that was, obviously a catalyst in getting me to, where I am today. But then of course, I mean, what it really was and what got me to where I was again was just making that content and really putting the quality first and trying to do things differently. And that's the number one piece of advice I always give people is that if you're gonna get on somewhere and do what other people are doing, you gotta do it differently. And that's the key to really getting yourself to grow or to become successful off of it. Because I mean, somebody's already doing what you want to do. It's what's going to make them choose you over the other person, the people who are already doing it. You got to have something unique. And like Nick said as well, I mean, being authentic is also very important. I mean, if you are authentic, considering everybody is different, then that could also work for you as well.
So at some point in both of your trajectories to this becoming, is it full time for both of you now pretty much?
Yeah.
And you both have agents, by the way, as well. So this is a real thing. When did you start working with fashion brands? And what does it take, or what do you look for when say Prada or Gucci or Valentino or a brand reach out to you? What does it take to work with them? What are the kinds of things you like doing with brands? What are the things that don't work for you?
I think one thing that's important is I think that brands, should have a good sense of when they are reaching out to a creator is that essentially you're hiring, a cameraman, a stylist, a model, and everything. Because we have to really control, we make the content ourselves, right? So we're covering every single aspect of that as opposed to, you hire a production company and you do hire these individuals. If you're going to just a creator, keep in mind you're hiring someone who's doing all these things for you and is capable of kind of executing all those different departments. And so I think that's one of the most important things that I think brands should know. And that's kind of, an important thing as a creator as well to be able to do. Because I mean, when a brand wants you to make something for them, where it's advertisement, highlighting something, you should always strive to, do it in the best way possible. It does get them to want to work with you again and things like that. And it's just being able to sort of execute all those different things pretty well.
Nick, what would you add?
For me, the most important thing is creative freedom. And to understand what I mean by that, I'm going to take it one step back and talk about how TikTok is a very algorithm-based social media platform. Because of the algorithm, and if you produce content that's not your regular content, something that's obviously very forced, unauthentic, you're being paid to do it, then the algorithm plays it out in a way that's very expected. So for me, I have 18 million followers. If I post something that's obviously a brand deal, I've obviously been paid to post it, and I've followed a very set briefing, I'd be happy if I get 200,000 views on that, Whereas my regular videos would maybe be getting 1 to 3 million. And the reason is because by following a set briefing, you take out the authenticity, you take out what your followers expect, which leaves them unable to engage with your content, and the algorithm definitely sees that. And doesn't play out the video the way it should be played out. So when a brand approaches me, my very first question is how free am I in the creative aspect of this video? How how can I take your briefing? I know the goal of the brand is maybe to start a trend. It's a campaign. The goal is to sell, to bring awareness. How can I take your goals and integrate them into what my followers, my community expect from me without losing their interest in this topic? Because once the interest has been lost, I feel like the influencer activation has been unsuccessful for both the influencer and the brand itself.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things that brands in our industry had to get used to in the early days, even with Web 2.0 and blogs and Instagram and social media and whatnot, was the lack of being able to control everything. And that's a theme that's come up over and over again today, which is like we're living in a world now where the control is really moving, in some cases to the hands of people with massive followings like yours, but also into the hands of customers. I mean, Wisdom, is there a particular campaign that you've worked on with a brand that kind of fits with some of the characteristics that Nick was just mentioning, which is like they gave you a brief, you were free to do what you wanted, and it had a big outcome?
So there's been a few of those. Unfortunately, not the majority, but there have been a few. So usually it's really hard for me to sort of like tell you which one is better than the other, because a lot of time when a brand does give you creative freedom, I mean, you're just so grateful for that anyways, and it's always going to yield the best results. I mean, if you're going to go to a creator, I mean, you have to be going to them because of of what they do. If you just want a general whatever, if you're going to be like do this, that, and the third, just hire a production company, get somebody over there to do it for you. Get Steven Spielberg to direct your ad. Like don't because we offer something different and unique on a platform that does generally need someone that has an understanding to get it to work, So whenever I have those, any moment where it's like, it was like, we want you to do your thing because we trust you, it's always going to be the most successful and the most fun for me too as well. So just those in general, like Nick said, I mean.
What would you add, Nick?
So likewise, I share the same opinion. I think a lot of creators do. If your goal is just to reach X amount of people, you would be better off posting a video that a production company made and then paying for ads on the video to have it shown to a lot of viewers. The advantage to paying a creator or approaching a creator is that they have a certain level of trust with their followers and with their community. And because of that, you want to let them use their trust to achieve your goals. For me, one brand deal comes to mind. It was the Boss brand deal in Dubai this February. I think a lot of you might have seen it.
I mean, I think everybody saw it. Who saw that Boss campaign? It was insane. It was like every single creator/influencer on the internet.
We literally were both there in the.
And you were both there.
There in the desert.
So why is that an example of something good?
So when they approached me, there was no briefing for the TikTok at all. They were like, yeah, we would like you to do one TikTok. Of course, they paid for the one TikTok. But when it finally came down to the production, I had a lot of freedom in how I want to present these 2 or 3 days in the desert in Dubai with Boss. I did it as a vlog experience because a lot of my videos are, as I said before, like talking based, trying to bring my community and my following with me. And I showed how it was from start to finish, how we ended up flying into Dubai, driving out into the middle of the desert, and then basically walking a fashion show in the middle of the desert on a huge stage with like a production crew of like 100 people. And it was really, really crazy. So I shared the experience of this show in that way, where other creators, I think Wisdom, you did a video where you were surfing on sand dunes in Boss clothes. Was that it?
I was falling over on the sand.
Falling over. So
I gave it my best shot. I did. I tried.
But every creator who was there had the opportunity to show or share their experience in how they felt was the best way to do it. And I feel like the real community engagement was very visible. So normally, like when it comes to analytics on a post, you have your likes, your shares, your comments, and I feel like they're not really good indicators of whether you're successfully engaging with your community. I think Steph talked about this earlier, how there's no real like key indicator of like community success or whether you've successfully built a community, because you could have a bunch of comments that are just commenting heart eyes emojis, like. Have you really reached the viewer and have you really brought value to them? So for me in Dubai, I had a lot of comments. Wow, this is amazing. Boss is so cool. I love what they're doing. Like I can't wait for what they're doing next. And that to me is like when you've really reached the viewers, you've really engaged them for the brand. And to me, that was like one of the most successful brand deals I did, just because even though with the I think it has right now like 1.2 million views. That's not in terms of views or like likes the best brand deal I have by far, but it's one of the brand deals where I felt I really achieved the goal of the brand deal in the first place. So that's my best example.
So, last question. You know, when we announced this panel on our Instagram, I don't know if you saw the comments
I saw
underneath.
the comments.
Did you see them?
I saw the comments.
So we have an engaged community. They were commenting, but a lot of the comments were like, "Why are you using the word talent?" You know, tell us why it does take talent to be a creator. I mean, Wisdom, you said, you know, I'm the cameraman, I'm the producer, but being able to do all of those things, that's obviously, you know, that takes talent, right?
I mean, yeah, it's really not easy. I mean, some of my favorite videos I got to work on for days, you know, at the end of the day, and just to produce 15 to 30 seconds of something. But that's also part of where the talent comes in, because I'm still able to produce something that's high quality, something that's engaging. I mean, I've only really been doing this for about 2 years, but I've still been able to keep my audience and everybody engaged and entertained for 2 years, because I've kept up the same like worth ethic this whole entire time of like always striving to produce something that's quality and something that's great. And so like that, I mean, obviously I don't know, maybe some of y'all will disagree with me, but I think that takes a little bit of, you know, talent to be able to, you know, be doing that for so long and to manage all those things. I mean, I'm in my room sweating. I look ridiculous whenever I'm making videos. It's crazy. But, you know, obviously it takes a lot of hard work, takes a lot of talent to be able to do all those things. And I genuinely think that it's a bit of talent for that, yeah.
So like Wiz said earlier, there's obviously, we are the stylist, the hairstylist, the cameraman, the editor, we're everything in one. That by itself already says quite a lot about like the amount of time investment that goes into like one TikTok. So those are a lot of different talents which people are paid. There are people whose regular jobs are your hairstylist, your stylist, and we're trying to do that all at the same time. On the other side, I feel like there's a lot of talent in the creative aspect of TikTok. There's very high pressure for us to regularly deliver very creative, unique content, and being able to come up with ideas, take current trends and adapt them to what our community wants from us is very challenging. And I feel like it's a talent in of itself to remain creative constantly and constantly try to adapt with the way TikTok or social media trends are changing and try to integrate ourselves into these trends.
Yeah. Well, I don't know about you, but many of you aren't creating videos. So like, you know, that's plus because it's hard to create a TikTok, and you know, it actually takes a certain level of talent to make it work. And you've clearly both been very successful at it. So I'm really grateful that you shared some of your experiences and insights with us today. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.